Good people, bada bing, Des signing in with a little review. Today I'm going to have a little chinwag in regards to Metallica's second full-length LP, which is entitled Ride the Lightning. Okay, so I did a little video based on Kill 'Em All. Kill 'Em All's a good record, plenty of good riffs, cool production for the most part, and a great entryway into what's to come. Alright, a great impactful concentrated surge of energy to debut the band Metallica. Now I've gone on, listened to the second record. Now this isn't alien to me, you know. Back in the day I've heard these records. I heard up until And Justice for All, and then from there I've heard so many of the singles and so forth just through being alive and hearing them covered by other bands and so forth. So I've gone on to Ride the Lightning. Now, first and foremost, what I want to say in regards to this is I am influenced a little bit by the artwork, because the artwork it feels like the artwork does a good job in showcasing the atmospheric element of the production and the band's sound on this record. I think the artwork isn't great purely as I always thought that thing, the electric chair in the middle, just looked like a big microphone. I always thought that was a bit crap, but the colourway and the colour scheme with the record is fantastic, and I do like the way it's titled Ride the Lightning, and I do like the Metallica font and impact in that colourway. Now, going on from there, as I speak on atmosphere, there's a fantastic production on this record, which really, it's not a sellout high-tech pop-end production, and I say sellout respectfully, you know, when it gets a bit too tech-heavy. I personally like it. I like a high-end production, but I feel the production value really gives this record justice and really gives this band a great transition from Kill 'Em All. I wouldn't stay on this production. I don't know if it was the same sound engineer who's worked on the records from there on, but as far as I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so, because I think this band's sound on this record is very unique to the discography, or up until, you know, the records I've heard. The atmosphere and the graininess of the production, the dark sound of the record, sonically speaking, I think is really good. If anything, that might be the most important aspect and element of this record, like the way the sound has been engineered. I think it's really good. Now, moving on to the actual tracks, we've got 8 tracks once again, which is perfect. Metallica at this stage have got a real good way of concentrating everything they need and all of the power necessary to get the point across in 8 tracks, and no more is necessary. A little bit less might be veering into the world of not enough, but 8, 2 if not 9 tracks is absolutely spot on, I think, as far as the band's sound and concentrated power is concerned. The vocal on this record is really good. The vocal production, I don't know what it is, whether it's reverberated or what, but the way the voice exists upon the music as a whole sounds really, really good. The shrieking and I'll go for some Black Metal. I can't do a Hetfield in this period. I cannot do a Hetfield in this period. But we've moved away from the youth of Kill 'Em All into the maturity of Ride the Lightning. I mean, there's been such a great development as the band as a whole over this time. A real showcase of what is to come. Wow, where's the ceiling for this band? Because there's been such a step up in the game as far as the writing is concerned, the sound is concerned. Conceptually, the band has really progressed into this record. The vocal is really good. The vocal is grim, and not in a black metal sense, but in sort of a hopeless metal onslaught. I couldn't really go into depths at this moment off of the top of my head as to what this vocal replicates to me, but I really enjoy it. The guitar riffs are fantastic. As far as the guitar is concerned, one thing that stands out on this particular record is Kirk Hammett has got a real good way of putting these solos on the record, on this record. In the songwriting, he's put them in the right places, and the rhythm guitars have really done nothing other than accentuate and uplift them guitar solos. I don't like guitar soloing. I think it's naff at this point. I can't be arsed with it. I'm not a guitarist no more. I like writing songs, so I like the song structure as a whole, and I like the rhythms and the riffs and the toe tapping. But we hear on several guitar solos on this record, soon as it kicks in, bam, you're hit in the face. The whole emphasis of the song changes with an incredible kick of power. Not only is the guitar solo emphasized and put forward with so much density that it is just an incredible scramble of melodic power, but the rhythm guitar, nothing is taken away from the rhythm in response. It's not like you've got a lead guitar and now the second guitar on the rhythm has to be removed in order to make place. It all still exists, and if anything, the dynamic and the accentuation during these parts as the band as a whole is all uplifted. It's not like, here's a solo, let's all pull back for the sake of the guitar solo. It's more so, the guitar solo is here, let's just kick everyone in the head and lift the whole dynamic of the band up. Really brilliant. The band has got some questionable riffs on this record that I wouldn't necessarily agree with too much, purely as I find them a little bit boring and lacking of substance. You know, just a couple of free power chord riffs and so forth, played in a manner I don't find that interesting or catchy. But they never hang around on them ideas for too long, and they make them work not only through the production value, but just through how they apply the vocal atop of that, whether it be like more of a melodic hook with the vocal, or sort of use it as a transitional period between the great ideas. That's what I find with that. The thrash metal is exquisite when they get into the high pitch, well, not high pitch, but high frequency, high tempo, tremolo picking riffs. Really brilliant. The drums are booming, and moving on to the drums, yeah, I would appreciate it on Kill 'Em All as far as saying, I understand why Lars, you know, it was the first record, you can give a little bit of room and all that, but on this record it's sort of highlighted where Lars lacks out as far as the whole band is concerned, because the drums didn't give too much food for thought. They were basic but applicable. I mean, what Lars does is perfect in the sense that it is Metallica, and what you see is what you get, and Metallica are the biggest metal band of all time in the world, arguably comparable to Black Sabbath. But what Lars does is right, but it's not the food for thought you get with the riffing and the guitar soloing and the vocal line. And like even some of the bass lines and so forth, it doesn't really come into competition with them bands. Sort of falls back on the fact that they can put a good song together and production wise make it sound good and cohesive. I think that's as much as what I can talk on as far as the drums are concerned. Where do we go from here? As far as bass lines, you know, they don't really give the bass too much chance to shine in this record. Production-wise, the bass doesn't pop to such a great extent that I feel like I can comment on it too much. But me not being a bassist whatsoever, me learning guitar initially and then learning how to write songs and put a vocal on a track and so forth, and start fronting bands and so forth, and writing the general composition with mind in what's the vocal line doing on this. I'm at a stage where the bass is like my last consideration, so I'm a little bit biased in regards to my approach to that. But overall, the band have done a very good job. The clean sections are brilliant. Fade to Black in particular, I think, has the best guitar solo. Very soulful. Shows why I think that Kirk Hammett is best over a slower, more melodic bridging section as opposed to like a thrash metal section. When he gets thrown on the thrash, it really does amplify everything tenfold, so I'm not going to hate on that. But as far as him being a lead guitarist, he knows how to wail that guitar in a very, very, very tasteful manner over, you know, the broken chord sections and the bridging instrumental sections, the more balladesque tunes of Metallica. That's what I think. And without further ado, I'll give it a rating. So to this day, even having listened to you know, so much more music than I did back in the day, I still can hold this album in high regards because I think it's matured very well. I think it's a mature sounding record, and over time it's not really lost any of its value in my world. So I'm gonna give it. And on a side note, there's a reference in Trapped Under Ice, which might be my favourite song on the record, by the way, where he talks of a frozen soul, and that made me click something, because there's a death metal band called Frozen Soul that's knocking about, that's been picked up by, you know, in the metal world, a major, I think. I don't know who they got picked up with, Metal Blade or something. I think Metal Blade go by independent, but as far as distribution is concerned, it wouldn't surprise me if they go through major, you know, distribution. So that was a little bit of food for thought. Now, as far as the rating, I'm going to give this record an 8 out of 10. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. The only detractors I've got is down to my personal taste. If I was a thrash metal head, a thrash metal purist, I'd say this is a 10 out of 10 record, because this signifies thrash metal without going into the cliches and just oh, we've just got the same track 10 times over, oh, it's just another you know what I mean, which is good when you like thrash metal, the consistency of it, but I like to hear something a bit different without removing the mosh element, because I like to get a dance on. I like movement music. I like high energy music where people can go and just start twatting each other to it. I like that element of these bands and this music. So it's a very unique sounding record whilst remaining thrash metal, and I feel that we sort of don't appreciate that nowadays. Like up and coming bands and so forth, at least bands that are safe enough to hit the mainstream purely as the labels know they're sellable because of, you know, the generalized marketable soundscape of them. I feel like not enough bands are coming out with music like this nowadays, because it seems easy enough to go to a studio, sound like, you know, Power Trip, and get a good producer on there, play so many shows and get picked up to an extent where you can, you know, market yourself freely. Now, I'm not saying you don't have to be a good band, but I'm not hearing bands that sound like this record nowadays. Not a metal purist, as I said. I don't know what really is coming out, but in my realm, in what's been pushed into my ears, what's been advertised to me, what's been spoken about that I've paid attention to, I've not seen it, alright? So, of course, it is all subjective at the end of the day. It's just my perception of my reality, alright? Well, my perception of our reality, but we're not going to go into the philosophy here. And that's me signing out, so click subscribe as always, people. I'm going to keep on coming with a few ideas. Feel free to feedback. I got my first comment the other day, which I'm pleased of. So I want to give a shout out to the individual who commented on the Cryptopsy review I did. That was a great record. I'm signing out, people. One love.